What can go wrong? What are common things that you've had to come in and perhaps fix that's gone wrong with the sale of a business?
Well, legally, everybody understands that in the sale of a property there is a Form 1. In the sale of a business there is a similar style disclosure document called a Form 2. But that doesn't apply to every business. So if you don't know, you won't know whether or not a Form 2 may or may not be applicable. And there are enormous penalties both on the owner of the business and the agent if a Form 2 is either not given or given incorrectly. Apart from that, you have to understand the figures, the financials of the business. You have to deal with other people other than just the owner of the business. Most businesses operate in somebody else's premises, in leased premises, so there's a landlord to deal with. The business may be part of a franchise group, so there's a franchisor whose approval needs to be sought. All of these are uncharted waters for someone who's only ever handled the sale of a home. So you can see plenty of areas for things to go wrong.
You've touched on the Form 2 and we were talking before we started filming about how sales agents often outsource the preparation of the Form 2, but you really can't do that with the Form 1, but you really can't do that with the Form 2, can you, Brian? Because there's so much information you require of that vendor that only they can answer.
The Form 2, I'm not aware of any organisation currently outsourcing Form 2s. I think most business brokers do that themselves. They gather the information from the owner of the business.
What information needs to be in that Form 2?
Well, under the legislation, it states that it must include the last 3 years' financials of the business, signed off by the independent accountant who does the books of the business. As well as that, the owner must sign off to say that all the information contained in the document is right, and that includes information relating to the lease, relating to the staff, relating to a whole range of other issues about the business, various acts, whether or not those acts refer to the business or relate to the business, advising the buyer that they have cooling off rights, which are different from the cooling off rights in relation to property. So there are a range of areas that need to be covered. And the legislation is just about to change. I mean, we've been advised that currently it relates to businesses that fall under a certain figure, but we believe that within this year that figure will rise by 50%. It'll probably go from 200,000 to 300,000. Any businesses that sell for less than that figure now will need to issue a Form 2. So a far wider range of businesses being sold in the marketplace are going to be covered by the Form 2 and give the buyer protection, but also throw extra onus on the agent.
So gathering that financial information is obviously quite a project in itself. It's going to involve the business broker probably spending days with the business broker spending hours and hours with the business owner who's selling. But also the accountant, you'd have a fair bit to do with the accountants, I gather?
Yes. Every business should have its own independent accountant, and they should obviously prepare figures every year for tax purposes. So we need to gather, firstly we need to gather several years, usually we work on 3 years figures, the last 3 years figures of that business, and often they need interpreting. Accountants will do things to benefit a business owner that sometimes will make the business a good accountant's role is to absolutely minimise the amount of tax that the owner of the business will pay.
Of course.
That's what they're paid for, to do that. And they obviously do that well and do it legally. I'm not talking about anything illegal. I'm talking about using every allowable tax deduction to minimise the tax that the business owner pays. When it comes to us, of course, we want to present the business in the best light, showing the greatest amount of profit that we can show the business has the potential to earn. So we work with and interact with the accountants to get understanding of some of the things that they have done and have shown as tax deductions in the numbers that may not necessarily apply to a new buyer. So we can show that the buyer will get benefits from these things.
And also you have to do some work with the staff as well, deciding on whether they're sold the business. So
well, the final decision on that is the buyers. In most cases, yes, most businesses do have staff. Staff have huge concerns. If an owner tells them, I put my business on the market, most staff get very nervous. The reality is most buyers want the staff. The staff are a key part of the business and they are very keen that the staff will stay. So we do try to reassure staff Staff have legal entitlements, sick pay, holiday pay, long service leave, etc. All of those issues come into account. Who's going to pay them? Have they been fully paid? Is superannuation up to date? All of these are issues that need to be looked into.
Yeah, and you advise the business owners on, obviously.
We give a lot of advice. It's not uncommon for us to work with a business owner for a year, even 18 months before putting a business on the market, to spend this time helping them get their business right for marketing.